Coming at you from the AO Studios, it's the Fade Route with D and Z. Here are your hosts, D and Z.
Powered by Riverside FM.
Coming at you live from the AO Studio.
Ayo.
It's the Fade Route with D and Z. I am D, and we've got a great show for you tonight. We got a couple of NHL Game 7s that ran over the weekend. Julian Edelman gets selected to the Patriots Hall of Fame by the fans. And we discussed the next $100 million, $300 million, and $600 million contract, which will surely be coming in baseball. We'll begin today's show with some NBA basketball. The Clippers were blown out in Game 7 in Round 1 of the NBA playoffs, 120-101, allowing the Nuggets to advance. James Harden struggled again in a closeout game, only scoring 7 points. So, Z, where do the Clippers go from here?
Let's see. So, they have the oldest team in the league.
I mean, Z, this was it, right? This was the year.
This is it.
You rested. You got rid of Paul George. You rested Kawhi. He was primed for the postseason run. James Harden was playing well. You had Zubats. Everything was going the way you were supposed to go. You got a favorable matchup, you felt, against the Nuggets.
The Nuggets were fit to be had. They just fired their coach.
Right.
They just fired their GM.
You're in a new arena.
Uh-huh. Murray is Murray. He hasn't been as dependable.
He's most of the year.
They still have Jokic. They still have Aaron Gordon. But this was it. If not now, when?
Right. That's exactly my point. So, where do we go from here? This was the peak. This was the mountaintop. This is the best it's ever going to be. You're not going to come back next year and be as good as you were this year.
No. And James Harden has a player option. So
he's going to opt out.
$36.3 million, he may stay.
No
is the grass greener is the question.
It's not
is
that.
Somebody
it's that he just thinks who he is. But Z, the thing about James Harden, I mean, can we talk about him for a second? I mean, is he the best?
7 points.
Is he the best non-clutch player of all time? Because think about it this way, Z. I made a list here. There are 11 guys that have played over 1,000 games and averaged 24 points per game. And we're talking about Jordan, Wilt, Durant, the list goes on and on. And James Harden's one of those guys. But come Game 5, come Game 6, and come Game 7, what the fuck, bro? Why can't you show up? What is it? We have to be at the point in his career where we have to question this. How is it that you disappear and shy away from the biggest moments? The man is transcendent. He created a move in the NBA, right? He created the step back, essentially, the non-travel step back. He created this move. It's his move. This was a guy that went to the Rockets after being the sixth man of the Thunder and became the man, got an MVP. But man, when it's Game 5, Game 6, and Game 7, he's looking for his mouthpiece.
Well, we saw this when he was with the Thunder. We saw this when he was with the Rockets. This is just who he is. And that's unfortunate because he is looked upon as one of the best players in.
Is he on the 75 team?
He shouldn't be if he is. Shouldn't be if he is. But, if he is a symptom of a bigger problem. The bigger problem is that
he's on the 75th anniversary team.
That's all you need to know about the 75th anniversary team. Come on now. I'm sure Russell Westbrook is on there. I'm sure there are lots of guys who are on there. You're like, really, dude? Really? You? Okay. Kawhi deserves to be there. Kawhi Leonard, he deserves to be there. We're ordering up the greatest number 2s of all time. Kawhi Leonard's probably going to be on that list. At least one of our list. So, Kawhi Leonard's a stud. James Harden just doesn't deliver. He doesn't post when it matters most. 7 points from he is the system, right? Yeah, that's what he called himself, the system. Well, there was a system malfunction.
Really? That is one of his nicknames?
I think that was a self-appointed nickname. But he is the system.
Right. You're right.
Yeah.
He's the Beard. He's El Chapo, Jimbo Slice, Honey Bun, Uno, the System, and St. James. Those are the nicknames he prefers when you see him.
Jesus Christ. Yes. Mr. Honey Bun. Walk up to him and say, "Hey, Honey Bun, what happened in Game 7? What the fuck, man?
Booby."
What the fuck? Oh, God. But he's a free agent. Batum's a free agent. You have the oldest team in the league. You got to get younger. I don't know how you do that. I really don't know how or who you're going to target to make this happen. But fundamental change needs to happen with the Clippers. Like, they're just going to be a year older, right? And everything broke right for you in terms of sitting Kawhi. It turned out to be a good move. You got him there. He was on the court. He played 33 minutes, scored 22 points in a Game 7 that you had a chance to win. You did not. So the strategy was the correct strategy. There's a lot of fat that needs to be cut from this roster. You brought in Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons didn't even play.
No.
Like, it was a coach's decision, man. DNP. DNP did not post. Completely did not post. So I'm looking at this roster. You got Boban. You got, Patty Mills is on this team. Like, you have veteran presence, but they're old as fuck. And none of them brought it, with the exception of Kawhi Leonard. Yeah, I mean, Jones had 12, Zubats had 10, Boban had 12, Brown had 13. Like, that's not enough. That's not enough. When you have guys like your supposed, two of your supposed best players in Powell and Harden, they combined for 16 in a Game 7. Win or go home. That ain't going to cut the mustard. So, and I know Steve Ballmer is not a patient man. You can't be to do what he did, right? To be who he is in the business world, you can't be infinitely patient. You just invested in the Intuit Center. Like, you set this thing up. This is it. This was your shot. If not now, when? Well, it didn't happen. So it's time for you want to talk about Uncle Stevie, right? They talk about Steve Cohen, the NBA's version of Uncle Stevie. Now it's time for him to figure out how to retool this on the fly and somehow inject some youth into a team that is probably going to slide back next year. And it's probably going to cost even more.
Yeah, I don't see, I don't see a path, right? I mean, you couldn't beat the Nuggets. I mean, the Nuggets are on the down end, right? We talked about it before. We didn't see them going, that far. Their window was passing. The Thunder are tough. You would imagine the Spurs are going to be back. The Rockets are young. The Rockets look stellar. And you're just there. You've got aging superstars that, despite playing together, can't win. And they blew 2 games in that series. They lost the Aaron Gordon game. They lost this game. There were opportunities, and for Kawhi Leonard, who's a pro's pro, who brought a championship to the city of Toronto, won a championship with the Spurs, and he just couldn't get it done with this group. And they're not bad. This is a good group. Bogdanović, Batum, Powell, Zubac.
There's talent there.
There's talent. And they have Ty Lue. Ty Lue's a good coach. They have coaching.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't even close in that Game 7. It was blowout city. And I watched the game, and in the third quarter, it was a wrap, and it just got embarrassing. But the second round of the NBA Marathon started yesterday with the Knicks beating the Celtics at home, and the Nuggets, who just beat the Clippers, stealing a game from Oklahoma City in Oklahoma. So, Z, which win was more important?
The Nuggets have a thing I like to call a Larry O'Brien trophy. They got one of those in the case. So while it was important for them to go into Oklahoma City and establish the fact that they are still here, they are still a force to be reckoned with, I think psychologically it was extremely important for the Knicks to go into the Garden, right? Boston Garden, and to say, we're not going to lie down. Yeah, we're down. We're not going to stay down. They forced overtime. They ended up winning by 3. This is who the Knicks are. Like, this is it. Like, they were up, and then they blew it. The Celtics tied it, and then get to overtime. They narrowly escaped. This is who the Knicks are. Cardiac on offense. This is what it's going to be. And you know this going in, but for them, they needed to get over that hump. They needed to survive that first round series with the Pistons healthy. And they did, right? They got through and they're okay. Now, the Celtics are a little bit more wounded. Jaylen Brown played. Jaylen Brown's doing fine. But after a while, how long can you really go on that knee if you're still getting pain injections in that knee? Yes, you have Tatum. Yes, you have Porzingis. But if Bridges showed up like he did, if Karl Anthony Towns plays to his potential, if Jalen Brunson passes the ball and doesn't have to be the hero, right? And we chided him, rightfully so, during the Pistons series. He was playing a little bit of hero ball. But to be fair, Jalen Brunson had to play a little hero ball. So, it was very much going in there and saying to the defending champs, we're not afraid of you. So, psychologically, I'm here for the Knicks. It's huge for both. It is huge for both, but I think for a team that has not won, I think that is pretty damn important.
Yeah, so for me, just want to talk about the Knicks and the Boston game. I watched the whole game, and they were getting blown out. They were getting crushed, right? And then basically what happens in the fourth quarter is the Celtics go cold. Porzingis is out. Jaylen Brown is not being Jaylen Brown. And the Knicks are able to tie it and send the game into overtime. Z, I think one of the things you're missing in that game is that the Celtics missed 45 threes. 45 threes. Ladies and gentlemen, audience, I am not messing this stat up. They missed 45 threes, which means the Knicks let them take 45 threes and miss them. Despite Porzingis being hurt and leaving the game, and then Jaylen Brown not being himself, unless the Knicks are able to slow this team down, this could be over in 5 games. If they hit just 10 more threes or 5 more threes, the game doesn't go into overtime. They're not going to shoot that bad this whole series. I think the more important thing for the Knicks is to figure out how do you plan on slowing this team down. And granted, the team's been off for a week. They haven't been playing. Their legs aren't under them. They're not shooting as well as they should in a game like this. The other thing is you had Mikal Bridges play 51 of 53 minutes. Not possible. Not sustainable. Not sustainable. So I think last night was a mirage or an aberration of what this is going to be. I think the Celtics are the better team. And I really think the most important win last night actually was for the Nuggets. Because the Nuggets have a chance, Z, to go up 2-0. They don't have an answer for Jokic. At least they didn't have one last night. And unless they figure it out, he's going to just accumulate massive amounts of points, assists, rebounds. Like, you have to slow this man down. What's the plan, guys? I understand, that this is game one. And I think we can both agree that game one doesn't really mean is probably the game that means the least amount, right? I mean, we're really feeling each other out. We're all trying to figure out how everybody's going to be playing one another. And really, the next game is going to show us, what's what. But the Joker had 22 rebounds. He had 42 points. And then if you go on to the other side, SGA, who had 40 minutes, he had 33 points, but only 10 rebounds and 8 assists. I'm not saying they had an answer for him, but they were able to live with what he was throwing out there. But when you have Aaron Gordon dropping 22, Jokic dropping 20, 42, Murray dropping 21, Russell Westbrook having 18, Christian Braun throwing in 11, the next game, the Oklahoma City Thunder could find themselves down 2-0 to a team that's already got a championship. So I think that was the more important game. I think the Celtics-Knicks game, that was just a throwaway. I would not be surprised if the next game against the Knicks is a blowout, like a big-time blowout, especially if Porzingis is able to play. You can clearly see something's wrong with Jaylen Brown. I think the Celtics can beat the Knicks this round without Porzingis. They can't do it without Porzingis and Brown.
And that's why I think that the Knicks have a chance.
Yeah, I'm not saying they don't have a chance, but I'm just trying to say, like, the Knicks' chance is based on injury, right? If Porzingis can't come back, if Brown is playing like he did play last night, then yeah, sure. But I'm talking about, like, both teams are healthy, both teams are playing at their best.
Yeah, but here's the thing: you can't do that. That's the playoffs. This is the nature of the beast. This is it. Like, exactly. Like, ifs and buts were candies and nuts. It's not opening night. You didn't have months off, and when it was opening night, the Knicks got their ass handed. So
right, and let's remind that they believe the Knicks were 0-4 against the Celtics during the regular season,
which is even more of an accomplishment than that they got that monkey off their back at Boston Garden. So that's important. Denver's not sustainable if they're only going to have a 3-man bench. They only checked in 3 guys. Dude, I thought Thibodeau was bad. Like this.
Well, they have a coach that just got there, right?
I understand.
Let's give him a little bit of a break. He's sticking to what works.
I mean, an 8-guy rotation is not good. It's not sustainable. Like, no way. No fucking way. And then on the other side, you got, like, Alex Caruso and you got Andrew Wiggins. Like, you have veteran players who have, cachet in this league coming off the bench for the Thunder. Like, to me,
I worry about their not being ready for a championship team because there were a lot of mistakes last night. A lot of mistakes. A lot of blunders, turnovers, not really respecting the Joker. Like, what was the plan? Double him. You got to double him.
That's the thing. They still haven't proven anything. Like they've proven to be regular season warriors, right? They've proven to be regular season champs. You gotta make it through the playoffs. They didn't make it last year, and they had arguably just as good of a team. This year, if they don't get clipped by the Nuggets, I wouldn't be surprised if the Warriors clip them in the next round. It wouldn't surprise me one bit if the Warriors didn't do that. Especially if you're going to get Steph and Jimmy, and Draymond being fucking Draymond. If you're going to get the performances that the Warriors have been getting, it wouldn't surprise me. Because, as good as they are, they're still young and unproven.
No.
And you gotta learn how to win still. Like, they learned how to win in the regular season. Now is the time you take your lumps and learn how to win in the postseason.
But wouldn't you agree, for a young and unproven team, like, it's more important for them to get that first victory at home against a defending champion, rather than on the other side where you have, the Celtics who are a champion going against a Knicks team that's been knocking on the door for a couple years now?
But the Knicks and the Thunder are in the same boat.
Okay.
Unproven.
Sure.
This is deep water for the Knicks, right? This is the round they lost in last year. This is where they got beat by the Pacers. And maybe they don't get beat by the Pacers if Jalen Brunson has a healthy hand. But they didn't look good. They did not look good before Brunson went down. So, they're in the same boat as the Thunder. The question is, who's going to put their boat to shore? Like, who's going to get to their destination? But speaking of destinations, Greg Popovich announced his retirement yesterday, enjoying a new run in the organization. He's no longer coaching. I believe he's still in the front office of the San Antonio Spurs. 76-year-old missed out on most of the 2025 season due to his health. I believe he had a stroke in October. At the press conference, he said his health is getting better every day, and he's strong enough to take that front office position. In regards to stepping down, it was time to make a change. And you can't really argue with that. But what will you miss about Greg Popovich?
Yeah, I mean, when I think about Pop, I think about those San Antonio Spurs teams with, a lot of foreign players. They had Manu Ginobili, Tony Parker, David Robinson for a little bit, Tim Duncan. I remember Mario Elie. I remember Sean Elliott, who was one of my favorite players. They had Boban for a bit. I just remember, his teams always, being ready to play. They had a system. They ran plays. There was no one-on-one basketball. They didn't throw alley-oops. Tim Duncan used to bank it off the backboard. And defensively, they weren't going to let Steve Nash run wild. They were going to force him to go the way they wanted him to go. When they played against the Spurs, they would do hack-a-shack. They were not ashamed of it. They also had a way of cornering Kobe. They gave Shaq a tough time. So he was just one of the best cerebral coaches. He was able to rally his players, get his players to play for him. He drafted Kawhi Leonard, who wound up playing fantastic against the Miami Heat and really shutting down LeBron and Wade. Just an amazing coach at X's and O's. And, I think about his level. Steve Kerr is a good coach. Eric Spoelstra is a good coach. I'm not taking anything away from those guys. But, when I think about Pop, I think about Phil Jackson. I think about Pat Riley. I think about Red Auerbach. I think about, all-time great coaches and their ability to scheme against their opponent, put their players in the best position to be successful, and win championships.
So, Pop, and this is the best testament I can give to him. Nothing really stands out. It's exactly what he wanted. He never wanted to be the center of attention. And his team, as good as it was never as flashy. Like you said, there wasn't alley-oop, right? In the era of Lob City. Right? No, just good, stalwart, fundamental basketball. Developed Tony Parker, developed Manu Ginobili. Tim Duncan continued his stewardship under Pop. I believe he was also Pop's assistant coach. So, Mitch Johnston, the new head coach, has a pretty decent staff if they choose to stay. I believe Becky Hammon was there too. So that's something that you need to take into account when you're dealing with Greg Popovich. He was always willing to try something new. He was always willing to think beyond just the sport. In a way, he was quite progressive. Whether it was having Becky Hammond on or, the way he thought about activism and sports. Say what you will about that, but Greg Popovich is an activist. It's what he is. He stood up for his beliefs, and he was vocal about it. And that's being a good role model for other people. You stand up for what you think you believe in, right? Stand up against what you believe to be wrong. And Greg Popovich did that on multiple occasions. I was listening to a story. I think it was on All the Smoke. I believe so. I could be wrong about that. But it was an interview with DeMar DeRozan. And DeMar DeRozan was talking about how his dad had just passed. And he was trying to keep it on a low profile. And he was trying to just get back home so he can be with his family. And he hears a knock at the door, and it's Pop. And Pop sat in DeMar DeRozan's hotel room and cried with him for 2 hours, mourning DeMar DeRozan's dad. And he said, "I'm not leaving until you leave." And it's one of those things that you mentioned. He was there for his players. There, beyond the X's and O's, right? Beyond the game. There are still people there. And you remember Greg Popovich for being a people person at the end of the day. He knew how to reach his players. And that's why they would run through a wall for him. It's because he could connect with them. So that's the marks of a great communicator. That's the mark of a great person. That you can have this French point guard, this Argentinian shooting guard, this, power forward from the U.S. Virgin Islands, and, Kawhi from L.A. And you can make it, that sounds like a motley crew, right? And he got them to gel. And he got them to do what they need to do for their own benefit, not just for the benefit of the team. But you got to think, is there a better pairing who did more for a small market than the tandem of Greg Popovich and R.C. Buford? Like, they took San Antonio, Texas, and they made it a basketball hotbed. Now, it started under Larry Brown. But Larry Brown got the itch, and he got the hell out of Dodge, as Larry Brown is wont to do. I got David Robinson. I'm going to get Tim Duncan. That's good. Vaya con Dios. And Greg Popovich stepped in and became one of the legends of the NBA. But it was built under the stewardship, under the guidance of R.C. Buford, one of the more underrated execs. So it's something in the water in San Antonio, and I think that Mitch Johnston's going to be okay.
They didn't squander an opportunity, right? I mean, they were fortunate enough to have the Admiral, and then they got Tim Duncan, and then now they have Victor Wembanyama for the next 20 years if he can get his blood clot issue under control. So, they made the most of the opportunities they were given, and they gave chances to international stars. In a time when that was not a popular thing, it was considered risky. He embraced it, and he's I believe Greg Popovich speaks Russian. I think he speaks a couple of different languages, and very impressive. I think even he had Steven Jackson on his team. I mean, they always had talent, and he got the best out of his players. Team Act, that was awesome. I think, yeah.
So he was never
the championship team. I don't know.
Yeah, he was never one to shy away from bringing in a guy like that as long as it could help his team.
Yeah.
T-Mac was a fading superstar, but he went and accepted his role, and he got the most out of his experience under Greg Popovich. So, and we'll see what happens with Mitch Johnston. It's hard to be the guy that follows the guy, right?
Yeah.
It's hard to be that guy. And I'm sure Tim Duncan right now is wiping his brow and saying, thank you, God, that it's not him. So, that would be a difficult act to follow, even for a guy as well-renowned in San Antonio as Tim Duncan. That's the thing. Popovich is going to be hard to replace. We saw it this year, but I think the Wembanyama thing, to tie up what you're saying, that's a major problem. That is a major problem. If he is having blood clotting issues, that is going to be something that could either clear up with medication, like Chris Kreider. He had blood clot issues. He found the right combination of meds. He's able to play, right? And then you got a guy like Chris Bosh. Chris Bosh didn't make it back. So it's one of those things you kind of have to watch and you have to monitor. Especially, San Antonio's in the Western Conference. You're going to Denver. You're going to have to deal with this altitude, and you're going to have to deal with the blood clotting issue.
That's a good point.
Because that was the issue with Kreider. He wouldn't go play the Avalanche in Colorado because of the blood clotting issue. So, yeah. So if they're getting with the meds, Wembanyama is absolutely going to be fine. He's young enough that he'll still be able to salvage his career. But, Pop has seen his fair share come through.
Step outside of your safe area and make a statement without saying much with FCK Clout Lifestyle Apparel. Embrace the colorful chaos and stay emotionally regulated in their graphic tees, hoodies, snapbacks, accessories, and more. Go to fckclout.com today and check out current season and past season merchandise for men and women. Get it while you can. That's fckclout.com. Check them out today. fckclout.com.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned the Colorado, because there were a couple of Game 7s over the weekend in the far superior product of the NHL playoffs, where the St. Louis Blues lost in overtime to the Jets, and then the Dallas Stars rallied back in regulation to defeat the Avs. So, Z, which Game 7 was more impressive to you?
Oh, God. Well, let's start with the fact that the Winnipeg Jets survived, right? They survived that series. There was absolutely no reason that the Winnipeg Jets, as good as they are, should have been in that situation, other than Connor Hellebuck just lost it in the middle of the series. For Mr. Vezina,
how many times have they taken him out? They had to take him out, right?
2 or 3 times. He didn't give up 6 goals twice.
It's crazy,
dude. But you know what? He showed up in Game 7. When the lights were on brightest, that's when he showed up. But you wouldn't have needed to be in a Game 7 if you didn't let 6 goals in, motherfucker. So it's one of those things that they need to worry about. And Mark Scheifele, one of their best players, their captain, I believe, he is also hurt, so he wasn't traveling with the team. So we'll see what happens moving forward with him. As impressive as the recovery was from the Winnipeg Jets, it was the Mikko Rantanen show. It was the absolute Mikko Rantanen show. It was 2-0 Avalanche. We got this thing in the fucking bag. This is great. We're gonna knock
amazing.
off. This is fucking. I'm gonna start a fight. He's gotten better. But Mikko Rantanen puts the team on his back. Says, "Boys, jump on my back. Let's fucking go." A natural Hattie in the third period, and then a capper to put it away. 4-2. Avs lose. Avs lose. From individual performance alone, I have to go with the Stars, right? To be down, your season is on the brink, and the guy you acquired from the Carolina Hurricanes, who was traded from the Colorado Avalanche, like, that's poetic justice right there. Like, from the Avalanche to the Stars, and he shows up and shows out and sends his former team packing. Like, come on. That's some good shit right there. Write that script up. Write that script up right now. The only way that you could make it better is if it was the Stanley Cup Finals. Like, that was the only way you could make that better. I'm scared if I'm a Winnipeg Jets fan. Yeah. If I'm seeing that, they barely survived the Blues. They barely survived St. Louis. What are they going to do in the next round? When you're playing better competition, you're playing Dallas. What are you going to do? Can you trust Connor Hellebuck?
No.
I'm with you. No,
absolutely not. Absolutely not. And it's just, I mean, it was you felt for the Avalanche too. I mean, you felt for them because you could feel it slipping away. You could feel it. You're like, oh shit, oh
it's
man,
like, it's not good.
Can't slow this down. And I appreciated the Dallas game better. I'm not gonna say it was luck. It's not luck. There was a lot of talent involved, 100%. But with the Winnipeg Jets, man. I mean, up until that they were just taking shots, right? They're just shooting. Mm-hmm. They're just peppering the net, and he kicks it across, deflected in. Oh my God, we tied the game, thank God, right? and then we go into overtime, and they've got all the momentum now. They've got all the momentum, and they put it away. So, and the Dallas game, you can just feel it slipping. You can just feel it. You could feel it. There was no stopping it. There's no stopping it. It's like shit.
No, absolutely not.
And you feel for the Avalanche. You feel for St. Louis. But man, what a product! Saturday and Sunday, just mopped it up. It was incredible. But if I had to choose, man, that Avs game was wild.
And
this
now we have
over because this shit is over. The game's over. I know the ops guy was already making the travel arrangements. He's like, oh great, all right, let me get a jump on this.
Yes,
just gonna log on to my computer here. It's like, wait, it's like, wait a minute. No,
guys, what are you doing? No,
can I get a timeout?
please, for the love of Jesus. So now, I mean, they match up in the second round. You have Jets Stars, and it's kind of hard, even with the issues, because Ottinger, I don't think Ottinger survived the series with the Stars. I don't think he made it through, but you got to wonder at this point, like it's closer to a pick'em than it has been.
Well, I gotta feel like the momentum is with Dallas.
100%.
I think Dallas is the better team at this point. They weren't all year, but at this point, they've grown the last two series, and they're bigger and more formidable.
Yeah.
I don't think they're relying on luck. There's a lot more talent, and they've been tested. So I don't know how it's gonna be entertaining. I think it goes 6, but I don't think it goes 7. I think it's gonna be back and forth.
If Connor Hellebuyck gets pulled again as often as he do in St. Louis, it could be done in 4.
Well, he's the guy, right? It all comes down to him, right? It's his consistency. He's the shaky leaf right now, as I would call it.
He is.
So,
and you know what? Like that goes to show you, chasing the President's Trophy, chasing the Vezina, like playoffs are a different animal. Playoffs are totally a different animal.
Way different animal.
I mean, look at the Panthers. Animal. The Panthers look dead in the fucking water as they limp into the playoffs. They got Marchand back. They got Matthew Tkachuk back, and now they look like world beaters again.
They're knocking out goalies, so yeah.
Oh my god! And how the hell do you? I mean, Stolar's clearly blacked out.
Yeah,
and then he's puking on. Dude, how do you let him stay in the game?
That's not a good sign.
Come on! Like,
did he just throw up? Yeah.
Oh, bro.
All right.
I think you can go get him now. So, and then you have a combination of injury and poor play, and goaltending is becoming an issue in these playoffs. So, who has the best goalie left? I have to argue that's Bobrovsky. Yeah. I'd argue that Sergei Bobrovsky is the best of the bunch remaining.
Defending champion.
So, son of a bitch might do it again. Like, we may have a repeat champion here if they keep playing the way they're playing and if Bobrovsky keeps doing what he's doing. But,
well, they're kind of built for it, right? Getting Marchand was a big move. You got Tkachuk, who's healthy now. Yeah, I mean, they're primed. They're primed for this run.
They're ready for that collision course with the Caps. They're ready. They're itching for it. But the Caps have to survive the Hurricanes.
Yeah, the Hurricanes are always a problem, man.
Hurricanes are always a problem.
Avoid messy accidents. Get better stopping power with your brake pads. Callahan brake pads. You never know when you'll be driving in the road and there will be a truck tire that you need to avoid and save your family. Callahan Auto. We really care about what's under your hood.
But we have a little football story. So Julian Edelman, the 3-time Super Bowl champion, will be enshrined into the Patriots Hall of Fame this season. He's got 3 Super Bowl trophies and a Super Bowl MVP. This was voted in by the fans. Is this okay with you?
At the end of the day, Julian Edelman wasn't really drafted to amount to much, right? He was a quarterback. Rounder. Yeah, he was a quarterback that they were like, oh, maybe we can get something out of him. Let's see if we can put him out and wide out, right? I believe it was Kent State. He went to Kent State.
Yep.
So he was a mobile quarterback, and Bill Belichick said, let's see if we can do something with him. Turned out to be a fantastic player. Sneaky low touchdowns. 36 career touchdowns.
Isn't that wild?
I can't believe that.
Wild, right? Well, you gotta remember that the teams he was on, like Gronk was there.
Yeah.
Right? And then
Randy Moss was there.
And Randy Moss and Welker were there in the beginning.
Yeah.
Right? Then Amendola comes. Right? So, and then I believe he was on the Shane Vereen teams. Mm-hmm. I know he was on the James White teams. Like, yeah, it's not so. He doesn't have those kind of numbers.
But it goes beyond, right? It's about his contribution to the team. And say what you will about the Patriots, right? But that Patriot bunch was all about team. Above all else, everybody had their role, the do your job era, and look at him, like look at Edelman. You mentioned it. They brought in Danny Amendola. Danny Whitehead was there. Like, you had these interchangeable white guys who can catch the ball.
Chris Hogan. They drafted players too.
Yeah.
They had LaFell one year.
Shit, Brandon LaFell. Oh my God.
They had Mitchell. They drafted Mitchell.
They traded for Philip Dorsett.
Right.
So, it was all about, it was never meant to be the star receiver, right? I mean, think about when Brady won his first championship. Troy Brown and Kevin Falk. Those were his weapons. Troy Brown and Kevin Falk.
Givens. I think Givens.
Oh,
David Givens, 87. Yeah. And Patton, I believe, was another receiver they had.
Oh, my God. Like, they're drudging up some names from the past right here. Jesus. Yeah. I mean, you think about Deion Branch, and then they got rid of him, right? Like,
yeah, I mean, so, listen, I'm not going to be Debbie Downer about this. I mean, Julian Edelman, he's a fine wide receiver. If you're going to put him in, you're putting him in based on the fact that he had 3 Super Bowls.
Yes.
And he got the Super Bowl MVP one time. I believe that was the Falcons Super Bowl where they came back.
Yes.
Pretty sure that was the one where he got the MVP. But numbers-wise, like you said, pedestrian. If you look at his average, he played 11 years. His average numbers are well below elite. He's averaging 847 yards, so he's averaging under 1,000 yards. He's averaging only 4 touchdowns a year. His high mark for touchdowns was 7. He never had a double-digit touchdown. You know, he was a good returner. And then his average reception was 77. So again, not only under 80, but under 100. So, you know, you're talking about a team that had Gronk. You're talking about a team that had Randy Moss. You had Wes Welker. Like, these are big-time names, big-time wide receivers that, to me, might be more worthy of enshrinement in the Patriots Hall of Fame. But again, this was voted on by the fans, and I can see how he can be a guy where you get behind, you support, right? Because he's a little guy, and I've seen him get destroyed on plays. Like, I've seen him get upended. I've seen him get, complete. And this is a guy who tore his ACL in 2017 and then came back and played 3 more years. Only played for the Patriots. I believe he was asked to go to the Tampa Bay Bucks, but he declined. He wanted to stay with the Patriots and retire a Patriot. And maybe that's why he also gets in. He spent his whole career with the Patriots. So it's a fine little story. Happy for him. But in the grand scheme of things, he's just another receiver.
He's just another receiver, but he has an impact on the team.
Yeah,
it's huge. saying Mario Manningham is just a receiver. Mario Manningham or David Tyree had 2 of the most clutch
it's
catches of all
you
time.
Should say that is will either of those guys get into the Giants Hall of Fame?
Tyree probably. Manningham, I don't know, but David Tyree for the helmet catch. Well, that's the thing, right? Think about Julian Edelman's greatest moment on a football field. In the Super Bowl against the Falcons, diving and cupping that ball to make sure it did not hit the ground.
Right.
That's statue. That's a statue right there.
Right.
Like David Tyree had the helmet.
David Tyree is not in the Giants Hall of Fame.
No, and ultimately he had a pedestrian career, but he had a moment. And that moment in time.
So you're trying to say that he should be?
I think he eventually will be because of the moment. Like Mario Manningham.
Yeah,
it was nothing super spectacular about it.
It was 18 years ago. When did they plan on putting him in?
There's plenty of time. There's plenty of time. The Giants have nothing but air and opportunity. They can put in anybody they want. Right?
Mario Manningham is not in the Hall of Fame.
No. But when you ask Giant fans, the helmet catch and Mario Manningham, those are 2 iconic moments, especially when you take into account that it was against the Patriots and the David Tyree play was to knock off an undefeated team and derail the perfect season. So It took a miracle. So in the same way that, it took that miracle of Julian Edelman getting that ball and making sure it didn't hit the ground. Because by all accounts, there is absolutely no reason that should have been a completed pass.
Yep.
There is no reason for it.
Triple coverage.
Yeah.
Triple coverage. If I remember correctly, he had one guy on him, one guy under him, and one guy over the top.
Right. There's absolutely the catch
and
probability
the
zero.
The guy under him broke it up.
Right.
And then everybody dove for it.
Yep. And then Julian Edelman said, "Not today, motherfucker," and he caught the ball.
I actually thought, that catch was clutch, but to me, we've talked about this on the show many times, but the Seattle Super Bowl, to me, was one of the best Super Bowls because of what they had to do to beat the Legion of Boom. And it was really just short passes and a lot of out routes. But then when they had to score late in the game, they had to go over the middle, and Earl Thomas delivered the boom to Julian Edelman, delivered the boom to Amendola, and they all held on,
Yep, he weathered the storm. He did exactly what you needed to do. And you say what you will about Julian Edelman, right? But he's a tough son of a bitch.
He is.
He is one tough son of a bitch, and you can't take that away from him. And this moment, you can't take away from him either. And to be validated by the fans, I think is much better. Like, he's not going to Cannes. Like, no, of course not. I don't think
and at one point I thought he would until I saw his numbers, and I was like, oh, geez, no.
It's
no,
wild.
Sir.
It's
wild, right? You thought he had, like, I thought he had, like, Wes Welker type numbers.
Yeah.
Like, 100 receptions, 80 receptions, 90, nope.
Nah.
Pedestrian, four touchdowns. He didn't even have any long touchdowns. Like, he's just a guy.
Yeah.
Just a guy.
And I think very rarely did they actually use him as a gadget quarterback. I really can't think one or two plays.
Towards the end they did because nobody could get open. So
yeah,
they were doing a lot of the double pass. I remember the double pass to Amendola. That was
I mean, when you think about it, right? It's kind of an underutilized weapon. They could have used that a lot more than they did. But, I mean, it's like Antoine Randall, right? Antoine Randall had that unique ability about him. And even Odell Beckham. Hines Ward could throw. Like, you had guys who had the ability to do it. And for a guy who was a quarterback, I think Joe Webb tried it too for a little while. When Joe Webb tried to become a wide receiver. But it's a unique skill set. But the story of Julian Edelman's about will. It's about will and the ability to take and maximize your ability and fit in with the team concept. Because at the end of the day, like, the whole, as you can see, the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. Because when you look at the numbers don't indicate that this guy's anything special. And then you watch the tape. And then you see the impact. And at that grassroots level, at that team level, you really do see the impact. You really do see how these guys kind of, fit in. And it's one of those things that makes football a great sport, is that you can have these, misfit toys almost, and have them sync together, and you can have them all working towards that one common goal, like a well-oiled machine, and you can have it be a dynasty just based on their sheer will and their inability to take losing well. The Patriots built that dynasty. We're not going to see it again, at least not anytime soon. Not at that level. And Julian Edelman should be very proud of his role during that time.
For all you grill masters, green thumbers, DIY aficionados, and home repair heroes in the Richmond, Virginia area, If you're looking for personal service quality products and a convenient shopping experience, then look no farther than Thacker Ace Hardware in Colonial Heights. Owner Don Rackley and his team of local experts have everything you need to tackle every project around the house. I'm talking Benjamin Moore paint, Milwaukee and Craftsman power tools, plumbing, electric, hardware, the works. For you green thumbers, their nursery department is top notch, and I wouldn't be me if I didn't mention the grills. They have Weber, Blackstone, Big Green Egg, Traeger. I want one of everything. Give them a call today at 804-766-4223 and see how they can assist you. Or swing by 27 Dunlop Village in Colonial Heights. That's Thacker Ace Hardware, 804-766-4223, or swing by 27 Dunlop Village in Colonial Heights. Thacker Ace is the place with the helpful hardware folks.
Well, baseball has a lot of young stars right now, and we're really in the beginning of the baseball season. But it's interesting to bring up the idea of who's the next $100 million, $300 million, and $600 million contracts that are, going to have it be happening pretty soon. Because Soto got his, and Guerrero just got his. So who are the guys that you see next on the list of getting big money contracts?
And we can argue that Juan Soto doesn't deserve it. We can argue that Vladimir Guerrero doesn't deserve that level of money. You can argue that Shohei Ohtani doesn't, right? He doesn't deserve that $700 change million. The only reason why you don't really bat an eye at Shohei Ohtani is because you're essentially getting two players in one. And in that case, it makes sense. You're getting two $350 million players. Okay, I can get behind that. I can absolutely get behind that math. Fernando Tatis? No. He's probably going to get paid. But I don't see it.
He technically did, right?
He might get again. He might get it again.
Like an extension or a new contract?
An extension, an opt-out situation. That's the thing. We're also living in an era where you can opt out and then get a raise, right?
Yeah,
so that's the kind of weird shit that we're also dealing with. Like the Bryce Harper contract, that's a rarity, right? That's 13 years, no trade clause, the whole thing.
Yeah, so Z, I don't know, because Tatis, he agreed in 2021 to a $340 million 14-year contract. So his contract is technically not up until 2035.
Well, you need to look and see if there are any opt-outs in there along the way.
See if he has an opt-out.
See if there is an opt-out along the way. Bobby Witt Jr., you figure, is due for a payday. Gunnar Henderson was looking...
No opt-out.
No.
The
Wow. Okay. All right.
He has a full no trade clause.
Okay.
And no deferred payments.
Interesting. So he's locked in. There's no opportunity. No opportunity for him to
got a deal. They got a deal.
That's a very team-friendly deal. Because you could peg him for upward mobility.
It also probably makes him easier to trade, right?
Yeah.
In about 5 or 6 years.
So
he's a bargain trade.
When he's a Yankee, yeah, pretty much.
When he's a Yankee,
when he's a Yankee, yeah. So yeah, no, that's kind of surprising that he doesn't have an opt out in that contract, because you figure you get the ability to dip back into the market. But kudos to the Padres for locking him up. Okay, that's interesting. So he's off the board, but then you still have guys like Bobby Witt. You have Ellie De La Cruz.
Well, Bobby Witt's another one, right? Because Bobby Witt just signed his contract. Let's see what we got here.
He's also only 24.
Yep.
So you got to see what's going to happen here.
So Bobby Witt, he just signed this year an 11-year deal, $288 million. So
another one.
So he's a $300 million man.
Yeah.
And so is Tatis. Tatis is a $300 million man.
So if Bobby Witt Jr. keeps playing at that rate, can you check to see if there's an opt-out there?
I would assume he does have one.
Yeah. So if he does,
he has an opt-out if there's 7, 8, 9, and 10.
Well, there you go. So then, if he keeps playing at the clip he's playing,
give him more money.
Yeah, he's going to be a $400 or $500 million. He's probably going to be up there. Like, you keep finishing second MVP to Aaron Judge. Yeah, you're gonna be due for a payday. Ellie De La Cruz, you figure he's going to get something. The Paul Skeens. Like, what the hell is... If Paul Skeens stays on this trajectory, like, he's going to get in between... He's going to get in between Vlad and Soto. He ain't touching Ohtani.
So
He's not touching Ohtani.
I have Ellie De La Cruz at a $600 million guy.
For a guy that strikes out at that level, I find that fucking disgusting.
Yeah, well, that's the only way the Reds are going to ever win. They're going to have to give him whatever the hell he wants. I have Skeens and Skubal in the $300 million area.
How old is Tariq Skubal? Let's look that up.
Skubal's got to be.
Yeah, let me look that up. I'll look that up.
Skubal.
Let's see here. Tariq Skubal. Let's see. 28. Okay, so sneaky old. He's entering his prime. He's in his prime, to quote Doc Holliday. So
I have the $100 million guys. I've got Dylan Cease, Alec Bohm, and Jazz Chisholm.
Oh God,
those are the guys I think in the next 3 years are going to sign $100 million deals. Then for the $300 million, I've got Skubal, Skeens, Churio, and James Wood. And then for the $600 million, I mentioned Ellie De La Cruz. I've got Gunnar Henderson, probably going to be upwards of $600 million. And believe it or not, Kyle Tucker might be our next $600 million man after this season.
What a crock.
Yep.
Well,
sounds like a Rocky already.
Well, the Yankees are in on Kyle Tucker as well, so it's one of those things.
They can't pay him.
Yeah.
They can't pay him. They can't afford him. They have Judge and they have Cole. They can't afford to pay another guy upwards of $300 or $400 million. They can pay the hundreds and the twos, but they can't go up from there.
Nothing about Kyle Tucker warrants that level of money. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. He's a decent player. A decent to an okay player. You're looking at... We're talking about a guy. Now, there's a guy. In 8 years, right? He has a .275 career batting average. 134 homers. That is worth that level of money?
Two-time Super Bowl, two-time World Series champ, right?
Yeah, but that he gets as much of he gets as much of a claim to that as everybody else, right? So it's one of those things that that's nice, but everybody, it's a team sport at the end of the day. And was he the guy? I can't say he was the guy, right? I can't say he was the guy that was the catalyst for those championships. I can't. So it seems to me that the likelihood of these things happening is very low. And here's why I think so. Because I think we're headed for a work stoppage. I really think we are. Like, you look at these fucking drunken sailor salaries for guys who are decent at best and mediocre at worst. But they're getting paid like Reggie Jackson should have gotten paid. They're getting paid like, Ricky Henderson should have gotten paid. Those guys were bona fide stars. And Major League Baseball is an image problem. If you put Kyle Tucker in a lineup with his jersey on, most average Major League Baseball fans can't identify Kyle Tucker. Right? They can't do it. They don't know who Tariq Skubal is. They may know his name, but he's not identifiable. Right? They're not on the level of a Machado. As much as I hate Manny Machado, and I think he's a douchebag, but he's a star. These guys ain't it. They're not it. Bryce Harper. Can't stand him. He's a star. Mike Trout should retire. He's on the IL again, but he's a star. You're going to pay Alec Bohm $150, $200 million. That dude ain't a star. Like that He's lucky to be hanging on in Philly. Mr. I hate this fucking place.
That was so great.
Come on.
I watched that game live.
Schwarber is a star. Kyle Schwarber is a star. No, this guy ain't a star. This shit, it needs to get under fucking control, man. Like, it's absolutely absurd. But we went to the Yankee game. We went to, we had standing room tickets, Mrs. Z and I. We went to Yankees Rays on Friday. And had a good time. It was good. You know, the Yankees ended up winning. But, like, it's all just so out of control. Like, you have a guy like Goldschmidt. Goldschmidt used to be a star. Not anymore. Cody Bellinger was kind of like a shooting star. Dude can't hit the broadside of the bar anymore. But then you have a guy like Aaron Judge. Okay, Aaron Judge, you deserve the money that you're getting. Like, Major League Baseball is an imaging problem. It absolutely does. They got to fix this, because there's no way in hell that some of these guys who are barely marketable should be walking in and demanding that level of money. I understand it's based on the market. I understand it's based on past salaries, but it's absolutely ridiculous. And guys with clear holes in their game, like Ellie De La Cruz, like, super fast, has a cannon for an arm, right? He checks all the boxes of what a Major League Baseball player should be. But he can't accurately throw the ball to first base 100% of the time. There's a great chance that it's going to end up in the stands. And more often than not, he's either going to hit a bunch of home runs or he's going to hit the golden sombrero. Like, that's Ellie De La Cruz. 600 mil, fine, via con Dios. If that's what the Reds want to do to keep their guy, right? Vladdy, but look at how much the Jays had to shell out for them to keep their guy, and he's going to have to move off that turf. He doesn't have that much longer on the turf. I don't know. It's an obscene amount of money, and I don't see the return on the investment. It's in highlight reel form. It's not in long-term, any kind of long-term study of the game. Baseball IQ is down, situational awareness is down, but salaries are going through the roof. So there's just a disconnect, a complete and total disconnect. But hey, you guys got paid. You're going to get paid. Congratulations. That's inflation for you. But don't be surprised if there's a lockout waiting for you on the other side.
You can't help but smile when you see a balloon. PopstarsBalloons.com offers spectacular balloon decor for all of life's events, specializing in custom balloon creations and installations for private events, corporate and school functions, photo shoots, brand events, and fundraisers. Led by certified balloon artists, the Popstars Balloon team shape balloons into custom works of art. Popstar Balloons provides full concept balloon design, build and installation services, as well as pre-assembled decor pieces available for pickup or delivery. Popstar Balloons is a woman-owned, small family business focused on providing professional balloon services using only high-quality, 100% biodegradable natural latex balloons made in the US and Italy. They consistently prioritize the safest use and handling of balloons in a sustainable and responsible manner. Popstars Balloons is located in Westchester County, New York, but likes to party at events throughout New York City, Connecticut, Long Island, and New Jersey. Popstars Balloons can also accommodate balloon decor services for destination events. No event too big, no event too small, and their custom personalization service is the perfect touch. They also offer a full line of event decor options like backdrop, prop rentals, tablescapes, dessert table setups, custom signs, and they always deliver with a smile. Whether you're looking for gift balloons, classic decor, or large-scale design for a big impact, Popstars Balloons will create the perfect decor for your theme, vibe, and space. So if you have an idea in mind or need inspiration, Popstars Balloons decor will be the cutting edge and spectacular. Visit popstarballoons.com to pop your next event.
It's time for the mail route on the Fade Route, and if you want to be featured, hit us up, faderoutemail@gmail.com, or slide in our DMs on IG at Fade Route Podcast, or drop us a line on X at Fade Route DNZ.
Note sent.
All right, boys and girls, we have a full mailbox this week, and if you want to have your email or DM highlighted and focused on the mail route, hit us up, faderoutemail@gmail.com, slide in our DMs on IG at Fade Route Podcast, drop us a line on X at Fade Route DNZ, and your message may be featured on this segment. Email number one comes from Carl in Sheboygan. The Bucks were eliminated from the playoffs last week, and I don't think there's a path forward with Giannis. Which team can you see him being traded to?
Well,
That's hard. You know, it's definitely
It's hard in the sense of, will they send him to the East or will they send him to the West? Because, right, imagine if, I'm just thinking about teams that have capital, right?
Yeah.
So imagine if the Spurs were to want to add him, right? Imagine if the Mavericks would want to add him. Imagine if the Lakers would want to add him. Now in the East, right? Knicks, 76ers, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Heat. Although I don't know how he'd fit in the Heat culture. The Heat. Those are the teams that kind of jump out to me.
I think it's going to be diminishing returns because he's getting older. I think you're starting to see more of the back issues and these things that creep up. And then it's also the locker room stuff, right? The whispers weren't so quiet when Budenholzer got fired, right? It was directly linked to Giannis. Now he denied it because he's savvy. He's a media savvy individual, but we still don't know. We can speculate whether or not he's a coach killer. We don't know. But Budenholzer's not there anymore. And now Budenholzer is gone from Phoenix. So, you know, maybe there's a little bit there. But then again, Kevin Durant's in Phoenix. So, like, he might have just got sniped by another guy. So, Mike Budenholzer may just be a victim of two guys who just can't get their shit together. But when you look at what Giannis can bring to the table, it would be a great addition. But it's fit. The question is fit. You're 100% right. I can't see Milwaukee trading with the East. I can't see them being haunted by Giannis for the remainder of his career. And the Spurs would be very interesting. I just wonder what the Bucks would want back. Right? Now, would you automatically jump to Stephen Castle, the reigning rookie of the year? Like, would you want that as part of a package? Would you want to build around, I think Sochan might be available? Like, would you choose, because you're not getting Wemby, right? If you're the Spurs, you're bringing in Giannis to build around Wemby or possibly replace Wemby if he can't go because of the blood clotting issue. So, how do you add Giannis while keeping your team strong. It's going to be a
don't.
lot of draft picks.
You don't.
A
You
lot of
just
draft
want
picks, a
dra-
lot
you
of pick
just-
swaps.
You just want draft picks.
Yeah.
You're doing a hard reset.
Yeah.
You're pretty much going down the road that you're going down the road the Thunder went down many moons ago. You're just going to collect draft picks. That's basically what you're doing here. You're not looking to compete at a high level. You're just looking to, accumulate draft picks, and hopefully you get a top 5 or a top 10 pick that helps change the culture of the organization. Because right now, they brought in Dame. That wasn't successful. They just didn't play well together. They didn't mesh well. It was nice in theory, and pretty much they did what Giannis asked for, right?
Right.
He wanted another player, and they went out and did it. And it's like, well, we went out and did what you asked, and it didn't work. So now we're just gonna. Or how about the Suns?
Oh, Jesus.
Suns might be one. That might be another good team.
So we threw this out here before. Giannis for Durant straight up. Double change of scenery. Does that work? Does that make the Suns better? Does that
makes
make
the Suns better, but it doesn't make the Bucks better. Because then he's just by him. You need the draft picks. Unless you then take Durant and flip him to Golden State to get more draft picks.
It's a weird situation. A team in the East that I find interesting, I don't know how they'd mesh, but I think this team could use the help, and they have a young alleged superstar, the Hawks. You pair him with Trae Young, could you be onto something? Could you get out of the hell that is the play-in tournament? Could you actually get to where the Pistons are a little bit faster?
Maybe. I think the Hawks might think about doing what Dallas did and trading Trae Young for like a Giannis and trying to go about it a different way. These people hold on to these stars and they think things are going to get better. But I don't think it's working either. But yeah, that's a possibility.
And I mean, we're going to talk about him. We're going to talk about this team next. But like, could this be an opportunity for the Clippers? Would he even want to go there?
He might want to go there, but then again, he might not. He might not want to be the second team.
Yeah, because he was adamant in the past, right? He didn't want to join it too. He didn't want to join up with guys. He didn't want to be a part of a super team until he decided he wanted to be part of a super team. He wanted some help because Chris Middleton and Brooke Lopez wasn't enough. So, shocker, it wasn't enough. But yeah, the Bucks are in trouble. 100%. The Bucks are in trouble.
Well, it's just their window closed. It happens to everybody. They thought by getting Dame that they would open the window back up by getting Doc Rivers and firing their coach. But their window closed. Just like Miami's window's closed, and you got to know when it's closed and when to start over, and that's okay. It's part of the cycle, right?
We know that Doc Rivers needs 3 superstars. We know that. So if Doc Rivers is the answer, change the question. Email number 2 comes from Stewie in La Jolla. At this point, whose career would you rather have? James Harden or Russell Westbrook?
Wow. Their numbers are not that different. Both have MVPs, right? Both have scoring titles. James got 3. Russell has 2. Multiple NBA All-Stars. Russell has 9. James has 7. Harden was a 6th man. Both members of the 75th anniversary team. Who isn't? Both all-rookie team. I probably would say I'd rather be Russell Westbrook because in my prime, I was really unstoppable. I could shoot. I can go to the basket. I played great defense. I rebounded. Nobody could ever question Russell Westbrook's effort. He averaged a triple-double one season. And he was the last to leave the Thunder, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, on the other hand, if you're James Harden, people question his toughness. People say he quits on teams. He's got a terrible record in games 5, 6, and 7. His numbers go tremendously down. Not much of a leader, just really a shooter and a scorer. So yeah, I'd want Russell Westbrook's career.
I mean, it's hard to argue with that just from the standpoint of what we saw firsthand in Brooklyn, right? He was brought in to be the linchpin of that team, right? It was supposed to be KD, Kyrie, and then Ben Simmons. When Ben Simmons didn't work out, flip him for James Harden, right? And to say it didn't work out is an understatement, because that team just got blowed up, completely blowed up. And James Harden was certainly a role player in that, and got the fuck out of Dodge as soon as he could. Right? He didn't start the mess. He came later. But he was one of the first guys off the ship. Really what you want, like a real stand-up guy in the locker room. And say what you will, like, Russ is there. Like, he may not like it in some situations, but he's there, right? I'm sure he loved being a Washington Wizard. I'm sure he just loved that shit. I'm sure he loved when he was a member of the Utah Jazz, when the Jazz were no good. So I'm sure he loved that. But he was able to make his way to another organization. No whining, no crying, no public bitching. Just get out of there. Play your game, and then that'll take care of itself. So much has been made of James Harden, and some of it warranted, some of it not. Both tremendous talents. Absolutely both tremendous talents. But I would rather not have the stain. I would rather not have all the off the court shit. Right? I would rather not have the reputation that James Harden has. I'd rather just be the guy who goes, performs, and then does his thing. Sometimes they're bad fits. Lakers, extremely bad fit. Who knew? Being LeBron's point guard is hard. But when you're constantly falling in and out of love with situations, and you are dictating terms, and you are saying that you're the system, and you're putting yourself above the rest of the team, that's a major issue. And that's one that is going to dog you for the rest of your career. So give me Russ. I'll take Russ any day, twice on Sunday. Not knocking James Harden's talent. I just firmly believe that James Harden's mouth and James Harden's self-perception has bitten him in the ass in multiple occasions.
Your favorite podcast has its own merch line now. Go to the Fade Store with DNZ.com today and check out our releases in apparel, accessories, drinkware, and more. Ever wanted an Alleged Superstar t-shirt? We got those. You want some yoga pants? We got those too. And we're not done yet. We have a lot of exciting collaborations and new products on the way. But check out what we have now at the Fade Store with DNZ.com. That's the Fade Store with DNZ.com. Who's the best of the worst this week in sports? The Fade Store presents the Alleged Superstar of the Week Award.
All right, boys and girls, you know what time it is. It's time for the Alleged Superstar of the Week. You know how it goes. We put up a poll on our X account at FadeRouteDNZ, our Instagram poll at FadeRoute Podcast, and on our Spotify page, and you vote. And you vote, and you vote, and you vote. And the winner of said vote gets a shout out on this here show and takes home the coveted ass trophy. And you know who took home the coveted ass trophy last week, D?
I don't.
That would be the Lakers.
Nice.
Adios, muchachos. Got time to get in the championship shape. Luca, you might want to get your ass on the Stairmaster. But maybe have a beer or two first.
Huh.
But that was last week. This is this week. Who are your nominees for Alleged Superstar of the Week, D?
All right, well, first up, I've got Yankees pitcher Devin Williams.
Ooh. 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 Ooh.
Well, we've got a lead. You know, we're heading into the end of the game. There's no pain. Let's just put him in. Whop, whop. 3 runs in 0.2 innings pitched. Gave up a bomb to Tatis Jr., I believe.
He's pitching it back, not Park.
Devin Williams has got a 10 ERA. Best trade ever. Devin Williams, you are my Alleged Superstar of the Week. Number 2, I've got the Boston Celtics. Shooting 45 missed threes in Game 1 against the New York Knicks. They might be a number 1 seed, or actually there might be a number 2 seed, but geez, you gotta shoot better. Boston Celtics, you are my Alleged Superstar of the Week. And last but not least, Justin Tucker. After one of your worst seasons ever and a flurry of recent massage therapist complaints, you were cut by the Ravens yesterday. Justin Tucker, you are my Alleged Superstar of the Week. What do you got, Z?
Now, we know the Tucker thing might rub some people the wrong way, but, you know, we knew this was coming. We knew it was a stroke of genius when the...
Pun not intended.
When the Ravens decided to rub him out by drafting a kicker.
Yeah.
So you kind of knew it was coming. The writing was on the wall. It's like, is it really competition? Are we really, like, is it really going to be, like, are we really going to have this up-and-comer come up here and try and take out Justin Tucker? No, we're just going to replace his ass. So, the running gag online, and I love the internet, it's undefeated. It's wonderful. The running gag is that he will be a Cleveland Brown by the end of the week. And Deshaun Watson can show him around. So, good for you. Good for you. Oh, God. Good thing it's not the tug rule. But that is neither here nor there. I'm going to start with the Houston Rockets. Number 2 seed, man. How the hell do you lose to the Warriors in your building? Right? All the momentum, 2 seed, up-and-coming, hot, young team. Nope. That veteran wiliness, that veteran presence. Playoff Jimmy, it's real. Steph is real. Like, the Warriors aren't done yet. And they just picked off a young and talented team. But time to learn how to lose before you learn how to win, boys. Houston Rockets, you are my Alleged Superstar of the Week. Number 2, Colorado Avalanche. Up to zip. Game 7. You got this thing in the bag. You can see the next round against Winnipeg. And then your former player, Mikko Rantanen, comes back to bite you in the ass. Natural hat trick, tack on the extra, and your season is over. Just like that. Vaya con Dios. The one highlight, the one saving grace, the one positive that you can take into next year after such a shitty loss is that you got your captain back. Gabriel Landeskog played for the first time in 2 seasons in the playoffs. So, there's something to be said for that. Hang your hat on that. Figure out your goalie situation. Get better. And you can end up hoisting another cup. Because you have done it before. But just straight blew that lead. Colorado Avalanche, you are my alleged superstar of the week. And number 3, the Toronto Maple Leafs. How are you not taking goalie Anthony Stolarz out of the game? Clearly he has his bell rung. He's doing a spontaneous head shake, which, if you guys follow Christopher Nowinski online, those spontaneous head shakes are indicators of a concussion. So, this man is concussed early in the game from the elbow. You keep him in the game. Oh, he just got his bell rung. There's no such thing anymore as, oh, he just got his bell rung. That is irresponsible on your part. And then you see Stolarz puking on the bench. Clearly, he's not right. And the fact that he had to get to that point is malpractice on your part. Toronto Maple Leafs, you are my alleged superstar of the week. I think we said our piece. Go to our X account at FadeRouteDNZ. Go to our Instagram poll at FadeRoute Podcast. Go to our Spotify page and vote. And vote, and vote, and vote. And for our nominees.
You're better than that. Just do better. Just do better.
This has been the Fade Route with DNZ. Thanks for tuning in tonight. Catch our podcast on Wednesday nights on Spotify, iTunes, iHeartRadio, or wherever you listen to your podcast. So until next time, stay fade, everyone.
Time for us to run the go route. We'll talk to you next week.
Thanks for listening to this episode of our podcast. If you liked what you heard and you want to hear more, be sure to like and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. Leave us a review, rate us 5 stars, turn on subscription notifications, and share on social media. Tell your friends and spread the word.